Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Museum Open House. This ongoing series features and highlights many of the outstanding museums and other cultural institutions. The main purpose of most programs is to inform viewers about current and upcoming exhibits, various programs, resources, and other opportunities that are available for the general public. Today via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guests Alison Drasner, Laidy Saenz, and Ivan Abraca-Torres, all of whom are associated with the Somerville Museum and the current exhibition entitled Museo Inmigrante, Stories of Resilience from Somerville's Padres Latinos. The exhibition is a collaboration between the Somerville Museum and members of Padres Latinos, a group that formed during the COVID-19 pandemic to advocate for Latino students in the Somerville Public Schools. And they also share information about food, education, cultural opportunities, and housing resources. Alison is the executive director of the museum. Laidy is a Somerville-based artist, and she serves as the art and cultural assistant at the museum. And Ivan is one of the curators of the exhibition. During the program, we'll find out why and how the exhibition came about. We'll go on a behind-the-scenes tour, and in the process, come to better understand and appreciate some of the stories, struggles, accomplishments, hopes, and dreams of the Somerville Latino community. Let's start by meeting our guests and then finding out all about Museo Inmigrante, Stories of Resilience from Somerville's Padres Latinos. Welcome. So delighted you're all able to be here.
Thank you for having us, Jay.
Thanks so much, Jay. Happy to be here.
Terrific. I had the wonderful opportunity to visit the museum, tour the fabulous exhibition, learned a lot, eager to find out more and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I think it would be of interest if each of you would very briefly just share a little bit more about your background or perhaps professional interest. Alison, would you start, please?
Sure. Do you want me to talk about the museum? Give a little overview of...
You can do that if you wanted to share any of yourself first, whatever you want to take it.
Well, like Laidy, I'm also a Somerville-based artist. I have a background in interior exhibition design, and I've been with the museum for about 6 years in various roles, currently in the executive director role, working with all the volunteers and the curators, the board, managing the events, and just helping the museum make its way into the 21st century. So I'm excited to share this exhibit with the community.
You know, just building on that, would you remind us again briefly the mission of the museum and perhaps just some of the programs and events it has to offer?
Yes, absolutely. So the Somerville Museum is the only private nonprofit membership supported community-based organization of its kind in Somerville. And the collection started in 1897 by a few individuals, and it grew and they decided to build the museum building to house the collection. But then in the 1980s, they rebranded to become from the Somerville Historical Society to the Somerville Museum, really to embrace the changing culture of the city and be a reflection, a mirror of those changes of the city. And so the mission is really to reflect the diverse community and provide community programming that includes exhibitions, events, music series, and talks. And so this program is a community collaboration project, or this exhibition is. And note that these types of projects are not part of our community curator project. But they come about in various ways, sometimes through the application process and sometimes in community conversations. And so this was sort of a result of both. And funding for this project was supported by Mass Humanities, American Rescue Plan Act grant from the city of Somerville, and the Philip and Edith Leone Foundation. I also just want to quickly mention that the admission for the opening reception and members of Padres Latinos is being sponsored by New England Biolabs. And we do have a wonderful roster of events and programming for this exhibition. One of them is a workshop happening on Saturday that Laidy will talk about because she is hosting the workshop. So we're really excited about that. And I'm sure that the other programming events we'll talk more about during the course of this program.
Terrific, terrific. Just the little bit you shared is a wonderful example of the many different resources, community groups, funding sources, and others that are involved in the museum's terrific efforts. Laidy, welcome. Very briefly, a little background, perhaps professional and artistic interests.
Sure. So I'm a Somerville-based artist and an immigrant myself, from Peru. I've been in the States for longer than I've been in Peru. And my background is with, I worked within a corporate setting, and then, within a few years, I realized I wanted to have more creative outlets. So I began to take art classes, and that led me into pursuing an MFA degree at the museum school, and also focusing on museum studies. And I've been fortunate enough to be working at the museum for the past 2.5 years as an art and culture assistant. And the majority of my work is within marketing and also some programming. And with this particular project, it's been a year in the works in terms of planning with curators and the community. And it's been a wonderful experience. It's had some amazing response, which we can get into. And as Alison mentioned, we do have a workshop that I'll be teaching this Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon.
Wonderful, wonderful. Ivan, welcome. A little bit, please, about your background and professional interest.
Yeah, thank you, Jay, for this invitation. So I'm also immigrant myself, originally from Mexico. I had been living in Somerville for 12 years. My background is a wide range from diplomacy all the way to academia. So I taught and did research at MIT for 8 years. Now I'm involved with at least 5 groups in Somerville, nonprofits, and I try to help the immigrant community in general.
And could you add a little bit more to what I shared in the introduction about Padres Latinos, perhaps sense of the membership, a little bit more on how it came about and how it operates today, please?
Yeah, Padres Latino was funded during the pandemic because of political assumptions, which is one of the city councilors was talking with somebody else about the necessity of open or not the schools. And then one of those people mentioned why we need to open the schools. If we open the schools, the Hispanic community, they won't send their kids back to schools. And one mother heard that, and then she sent a text message to another one asking that. And she said, yes, of course, I will send my kids back to a school. And then they asked a third one. So now it is a group over 250 families that we communicate only in WhatsApp and only in Spanish and Portuguese. And when I said over 250 is because the WhatsApp tap the number to 250 members, but we have over that range of families. And we share information and resources about everything, but the mission of Padres Latinos is just to level the gap between the Hispanic and Brazilian students with the peers in Somerville.
Nice. Ivan, what are some of the logistics involved from your end with creating and developing the exhibition? Alison mentioned a little bit in the introduction. Could you share a little bit more about that collaboration?
Well, this is a large collaboration project because in this group we have over 250 families. So we ask the families who wants to participate. And over the year that we organized this, we share with a lot of people, even people who are not part of the Padres Latinos, like it could be Nick, who was the designer. We visited several kitchens from parents who are not necessarily part of the group. And so we work with a lot of stakeholders. We work with the museum. We work with designers. We work with the families, especially the families. They open their hearts. We work with the two community-based artists, Mario Quiroz and Yaritza Menjivar. So it's a very, very large collaborative project.
Mhm. What are some of the items that we're gonna see when we do a little visual tour that are featured in the exhibition, and where do they come from?
Well, in general, the exhibition is divided in 7 different sections. The main one is the kitchen. The kitchen is the main one. So we went to East Somerville. We visited several, at least 10 kitchens with Nick, who is actually the designer for the Museum of Fine Arts, but he's based in Somerville, and he wanted to give back a little bit to the community, offering his job. And so we took a lot of photographs, and then we came up with this idea. You can see some icons, religious motifs. You can see plants. You can see a little things that we found out in those visits. You have the table with this vinyl, colorful, and it's the kitchen is very important because it's not only it's not a place where you only cook and you transmit and share the recipes that connect you with your country of origin, with this new transition, with this new culture, but also because a lot of those immigrants in Somerville, they don't have, or they don't live like in a specific apartments, but because it is very expensive, they live in 1 bedroom per family. So sometimes you have, 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms where you have 12, 15, 20 people living there because it's very expensive. And the kitchen is the only common space. So that's why we decided to put the kitchen in the main space here. In the back of this wall, you have the stories, you have the videos with the interviews, because this is not only a photography but oral history project. So you are in the kitchen, you are invited to sit down and to hear the voices of the surrounded stories around the kitchen. So we have also a wall, a photo wall, and where also we ask the collaboration of all the families just to send their photographs, where a lot of, this is very common in Latin America, to find a wall like that with a very strong colors in the background, where the families, they are very proud to show, the weddings, where they are proud to show the graduations and a lot of other, proudness of the family. This wall is just a visual register of the proudness of each family. And obviously there are, some religious figures who accompany all this transition. In the process of interviewing the families, we asked them to bring over some objects, the objects that they brought with them when they left their countries of origin, and tell us the stories of those stories. And also we asked them to bring the objects that they found when they arrived into this country, and to tell us the stories of those stories of the objects. In the same small gallery, you will find some black and white photographs of Mario Quiroz, which put a little bit of, there are stories of daily life, who will put a little bit of a context of where these families live and where they are in Somerville. And then we recreated a little bit the studio of Yaritza Menjivar for just to offer to the visitors a space where we can see their faces and their voices. We offer this space just to share stories with us. and those stories could communicate with the stories that we presented in this exhibition.
I'm glad you mentioned the video wall, because that was fascinating to spend some time listening to different individuals talk about situations. Alison and Laidy, just a little bit more from maybe the museum's standpoint, how the collaboration went to actually pull this off and get it up and running in the museum.
I'm sure Laidy can provide some insight as well. It's always a different, every project we do is different in that it requires a different amount of meetings, weekly meetings, coming up with the plan. In this case, we were working with a group. You know, Ivan, Marta, Sonia, who are other collaborators on this project from Padres Latinos. We were working with Nick from the MFA. We were working with Kristen, who is Ivan's partner, and she also works at the MFA as a curator. So we were working with a lot of different people from different places and really trying to find a way to collaborate, but also streamline the information we were working on so that it was clear, so that we had deadlines, that we were meeting those deadlines. And it's always, you know, creativity isn't always wrangled into a spreadsheet as much as we try to do that. So, you know, we'll be working on you know, on these deadlines, and something else will come up, and it's such a good idea. I mean, Yvonne is the master of these really creative ideas, and they come just sometimes organically through the process. So it's always a really fun process, and it's a problem-solving process for us on the museum end. You know, we wanted to find a wallpaper for that photo wall, and we had to figure out where to get that from and how to get it here in time. And it, you know, so these things are the logistics are exciting, and you know, there's a lot of process involved for us that we enjoy. So,
Laidy, would you add a little bit about your involvement and role in helping make the exhibition a reality?
Sure. It was, as Alison mentioned, you know, it was a year-long process. And a big component of that was also like remaining authentic to the narratives of the families that have an immigrant story, and presenting that in a way that would, you know, honor the history and also honor the struggle, right? And we included quotes in Spanish because that's, you know, that's when we interview the families, they spoke in Spanish or in Portuguese, and it was the curators, you know, viewpoint, both Ivan and Marta, to display that in Spanish and remain, you know, true to that history. And also, you know, like immigration is such a, you know, it's such a delicate, right? It's such a delicate, it's a political issue. And also, you know, we're with the heart stories, how do we present those heart stories? And during the opening reception, you know, it was very emotional for the families to see themselves, you know, in a museum, in that space with these gold frames, right, on the photographs that are not typically displayed in that way. And also another aspect was these objects, right, that these families, there's one, the coordinator of Padres Latinos, actually, she, in the smaller gallery, she keeps, there's a picture, or actually, I think it's the actual plane ticket that she took from her country to come to the US. And also the suitcase, right? So these objects that when you come take a whole different meaning, right? Because you left your family, you left your history, you left your food, language, you're learning, and these objects transform and change, and yeah, and they become, you know, they live in a new context just as you do, as these families do.
You know, building on that, Ivan, what's been some of the reaction and feedback from either the individuals and families that are featured or other members of Padres Latinos to the exhibition?
Yeah, you know, it has been very positive, especially because, as a lady mentioned, it has been conceived as a way to link art with social activism in order to fight social political inequalities that some of those immigrant families live. So the fact that they can see themselves in a museum and being celebrated is just amazing for them. And it has been very, very positive. And also not only for the Hispanic families, but in general for the other stakeholders in the city, which is like city councilors. They were there for the opening, the mayor of the city. Also, we have the visited of the school committee, the superintendent. So some of the principals of the public schools. So it has been very, very positive and well received.
Wonderful. Alison and Laidy, what's been some of the reaction and feedback you've heard from other members of the community?
We've had a lot of coverage from the Latino media community, such as Telemundo, El Mundo newspaper. There's also been local papers, the Boston Globe, Somerville Times. There's been a lot of coverage and also a lot of interest, right? And learning, although the group is very, very large, some members of the community, they're hearing about this group for the first time through this exhibition. So wanting to learn more, wanting to get involved. And also, as Ivan mentioned, right, the city itself, like city officials from Somerville have also been in attendance to a lot of these events.
Go ahead, Laidy, please.
I would just add that to Laidy's comments, like we've gotten a lot of press coverage, and I've noticed that people that have seen the exhibit, yourself, Jay, have had nothing but positive things to say, and I've noticed the amount of time people have spent walking through has been a good amount of time on average, and that's always sort of an indication that people are really taking it in and appreciating it. And we do keep a digital comment book at the museum, and those comments have so far been very positive. So I think it's being well received on the low and high levels. So we're really excited about it.
Now, you've done such a great job curating the stories of the individuals and the families, not overwhelming the viewer, the visitor with too much information, but definitely giving enough of a real sense of the individuals, their families, their stories, struggles to get here, things they're still dealing with, accomplishments they've done. That really comes through. Moving on, would you build, Alison, a little bit more some of the related programming?
Sure. I always encourage everybody to go to our website to make sure the latest updates about hours and programming. And then we have the closing reception on Saturday, March 23rd. So, this is an exciting time for the museum for this project. We are also hosting some private student tours with local classes around the city. So we're really busy behind the scenes.
Nice, nice. Ivan, could you share with viewers just current projects and goals for Padres Latinos and how people can stay informed and possibly get in touch?
Yes, so we have the Padres Latinos of SPS, Somerville Public Schools. So we have the website, and they can always reach out to us. We have also the WhatsApp, where you need to be a member in order to reach out to us. But all the way to March 23rd, you can reach out to us also through the museum. And I would like just to mention about the next event that we have on March 6th about the mental health. This is because, a lot of Hispanic, most of them, they are here, not because they want to be here, but because in one way they have been exposed from their countries because of different socio-political reasons. It could be poverty, violence, political turmoil, personal threats, and others. So they have lived through so much that this is just one part. And then, the journey as an immigrant crossing Mexico and a lot of other violent countries, and then to arrive here, they have lived so much that in one way we want to explore, because I think a lot of immigrants, they are not aware that there is a traumatic process. So that's why we would like to learn more about this issue.
Wonderful, wonderful. Alison and Laidy, any final thoughts about current and upcoming projects, programs, events at the Somerville Museum?
Yes, so after this exhibit is over in March, we have our annual Somerville Open Studios First Look exhibit, which is a collection of pieces of artwork from local artists who are registered with Somerville Open Studios, which is one of the longest running Open Studios event in the country. And then we'll be closed for some summer renovations, which we're looking forward to. And we open again in the fall with the Art of the Festival, which is a community curator exhibition based around a very famous festival in Nepal, and we'll be collaborating with the local Nepalese community on that one. Laidy, can
Terrific.
you talk a little bit about your suitcase workshop?
Sure. So a lot of immigrant experiences start with, right, thinking about what you're going to take with you to another place. So this workshop will be packing a small miniature suitcase with elements that you would take to another place, to another country. So that's part of the workshop, and please come see the exhibition. It's up through March 23rd, so don't miss it.
I definitely wholeheartedly back that. Hope to have the chance to visit again before it moves on. But unfortunately, we've come to the end of our time. I want to thank all of you for being here, for informing us about the fabulous exhibition. Congratulations on this important endeavor and continued success with future efforts.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us, and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.